Humans of Malden is a multimedia exhibition and gathering that profiles the daily lives, memories, reflections, and experiences of people from all across Malden.
So on Thursday, February 27th from 6 to 8, we had a multifaceted art salon that explored the Humans of Malden project through music, poetry, media, and storytelling. Adam Shulman and myself, Felicia Ryan, were able to interview several different members of our community, and they shared stories about places that were meaningful to them in Malden. So my name is Felicia Ryan. I'm the development specialist at Urban Media Arts. I'm here at the Art Salon for Mapping Malden, and my guest is...
Adam Shulman. I'm a board member of Urban Media Arts.
Awesome. And a local realtor as well,
Local
right?
realtor, local resident.
Chamber member.
Chamber member. I do it all. Yes.
So if I was to ask you the question, if there was a memorable spot in Malden, what would you... Like, a lot came up for me, so I'm curious what comes up for you.
So a lot comes up for me as well. I was thinking about this. I think what's embarrassing to me about it is that I don't know the absolutely correct way to pronounce the location of the place where my memory is, but I believe it's Waits Mount.
Yeah, Waits Mount.
So I remember one, so whenever Dana, my fiance, and I like to travel, we like to do something special like very early in the morning, like at sunrise. And I remember thinking one night we should just get up with the sunrise and go to Waits Mount and see the sunrise over the city or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And we did it, and it was just so special. And to have such a beautiful moment that felt like we should be experiencing it on vacation, but it happened 5 minutes away from our home, and reminded me of why I wanted, one of the reasons why I wanted to move to Malden in the first place, that there are literal mountains within the city limits that you can go and experience nature. It was just really special.
I think that's a very cool memory, and a lot of people maybe new to Malden don't know about Waits Mount and the fact that you get this great Boston skyline, and you forget Malden is super close to Boston. It's very accessible. It doesn't mean that we have to go into Boston for those special experiences, but I think the adjacency, is that the word I'm looking for?
Proximity.
Proximity, there you go.
And you also have a line of sight into Boston that isn't typical.
Right.
And it's a very unusual perspective on the city that definitely stood out to me. And I could point to people not taking pictures from this vantage point in the past as much as they might be so now, and people being attracted to this area more now than they were before.
Yeah.
But it's very unique.
Yeah. It's funny because a couple of my memories of Malden, I had moved to Malden about 10 years ago, and I don't live in Malden anymore, but I work in Malden, I'm in Malden frequently, was a kind of like a pseudo-nature spot too, so like the bike trail. For me, living in close proximity initially to the bike trail was a huge thing because I could get on my bike, I could be in... it's the little water estuary sanctuary. What's that called? Right there on the...
Fellsmere Park?
No. So we're talking like the Saugus side.
Oh. I'm not sure.
It's... will come to me.
Yeah.
But you could see, I remember walking through and this huge cloud of little yellow wrens came out of the bushes. I've seen coyotes there. And then you can ride your bike all the way through Malden into Everett, which is so cool.
I mean, you can bike to the sea.
Bike to the sea.
Yep.
It had just started initially when I moved to Malden, so it was still gravel. So I only went so far.
Yeah.
But
Didn't
still,
go all the way to the sea.
Right. I aspired to that. Well, this was cool. And as we move through the evening, I'm sure that we'll have other people talk about new to Malden, old to Malden, past memories, future memories. So I'm looking forward to podcasting with you, or podcasting in tandem with you.
I am looking forward to it as well.
Cool, thanks.
All right, could you please tell me your name and how long you've lived in Malden?
My name is C.D. Collins, And I have lived here since, I think, 29. Yeah. I moved into the artist lofts that were formerly the convent of the Sacred Heart.
And could you tell me about a particular location in Malden or place in Malden where you have a particularly special memory or a special association with?
Well, let me start with where I live in the former convent. I call my dwelling Sacred Heart Studio, and it's part of the Sacred Heart Parish next to the Chevreuse School. And the nuns left, beautiful building. They have beechwood floors. They have very wide windowsills, and my place is 9 windows. All windows, big windows, and that represents 9 nuns that live there. And I can feel their presence, and it feels good. So I'll start there with that. And I like walking in Malden, and I like the bike path, feels safe from the cars, and then I like to go to the Forestdale Cemetery.
Yep.
And I feel such peace there. They take care of it. It's beautiful in all seasons, and you can go through there, and I love reading the names and reading what memory they have of the people and what quotation they use for the people that have passed. So I love walking in there. I love looking at the trees, and it's quiet and beautiful.
I heard that there are so many different types of trees in Forestdale Cemetery that it qualifies to be, I can't think of the right word right now, but not necessarily a sanctuary, but it's not just like there's one type of tree in there. It's really, they've done quite a job with a variety,
Yes.
Of trees in there.
Yes.
I believe Chris Rose is the tree warden, I believe, of Malden, and they spend a lot of time making sure it's not only, accessible to the public, but beautiful in there as well.
Yes. And there's some wildlife in there. You can also go up on a hill and get beautiful views. And one day I was passing the dumpster, and I don't know why, but I climbed up in there, and there were 2 little raccoons, and they did not want to be in there. And so I made it so they could get out. And I think I like it so much because it's a place I go with my friends, we walk there, and I go by myself, and I just slow down when I go in there. And we need all of these spaces in the city. We long for them, and I think Malden does a really good job of providing us with natural spaces.
I want to go back to the nuns,
Yes.
if we may. So you said that their presence makes you feel good or positive. What type of good? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I feel that that making a choice such as they made to devote their lives, and then they taught at the Chevreuse School. And I was not raised Catholic. I have no negative associations whatsoever with nuns, but I can feel that they were there to do good. I can feel a sense of light from their presence.
And probably of comfort as well, right?
Yes, and of comfort. And I tried to find them. I reached out to the Sacred Heart Parish, and I didn't hear back. But I don't know where they are. The Sisters of Providence, they're called.
Okay.
Yeah, and also when I moved in there, all the things I wanted in a home. We have a courtyard with these beautiful maple trees. We have a roof deck. I also wanted to be on the top floor, and there's the cross is right above my apartment, so I think of myself as the Mother Superior of the New Order of the
There we go.
Yes.
Well, I think, as you know, it is my job to find homes for people, and I think what sometimes people don't realize in this world of you're looking on Zillow or you're looking online for a potential home, looking at a picture online is not nearly the same thing as actually being in the space.
Yes.
The word that is overused in this day and age is the vibe
Mm-hmm.
of a space, but it's a real thing.
It is.
Some places feel more like home than others.
Yes.
And it's so nice and that's where you're currently living, right?
It is where I'm currently living.
It's so nice that you're able to live in
And
a
when
space that makes you feel that way.
Yes, and when I first moved in, there were only two of us, and there was a woman. She's since moved, but she was from North Carolina, and I said to her, "Can I put in a gas logs?" And she said, "Yes." So I put in gas logs.
Nice.
And so it's got everything that I want. They're studio apartments, and then I have a remote studio in the basement. So
Perfect. Where you can work.
Work, yeah. I work mainly in my space upstairs, but there is a quiet place downstairs that I call the grotto, where I can also work.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hi, Felicia. My name's Jody Zalk.
And it's not like we don't know each other. We do.
Yeah.
I had you on my podcast a bunch of years ago, I think, at this point. So you're involved with Malden Reads, but you're also a teacher, right?
No, I'm it's a misnomer, but I do work for the Department of Education for the state.
Around your education adjacent.
Adjacent, yeah, that's a good word for it.
But heavily,
family of educators.
Yeah, your mom is too.
Yeah.
And you've been nice enough to come to some poetry things that I've been involved with, so I always appreciate seeing your face. So tonight at the Art Salon, we're asking folks, tell us about a place in Malden that has special meaning or a memorable connection for you. And I think something popped up for you.
Yeah, what popped up was thinking about Pine Banks Park. And I grew up in Malden, have moved back as an adult, have lived here for years and years now as an adult. But just the most immediate memory was going there as a kid with my mom and walking around the pond and playing at the park there. And having birthday parties there and going there with Girl Scouts and doing lots of different things there. And now as an adult, being there for different experiences for Malden Reads. We had been there with Barbara Murphy, counselor, when she was a city councilor, and had the Fairy House event.
I've taken my stepdaughter when she was little to the fairy houses. Yeah, she loved it. She thought the fairy houses should happen like every weekend, and we had to sort of say, no, it's kind of an annual tradition to do the fairy houses. So
Yeah. Well, we probably crossed paths before we actually got to know each other.
That's true.
Yeah, so we had been there for the first year of the Fairy House event, and I've done races through Pine Banks Park as well.
Because you're a runner, right?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Not going to win any races, but I won't come in last either.
It's cool that we have sort of like nature areas in Malden, I think, for such a big geographic location and a city that has a fairly high, dense population. We do have these pockets of nature.
Yeah.
Like Adam Shulman talked about Waits Mount. I talked about the bike path. And now you're talking about Pine Banks, which is very cool.
Yeah, they're really special areas and a nice little refuge from the downtown area.
Yeah. Do you think that we do, and not to be political at all, but do you think that we do enough to cultivate natural spaces in Malden?
It's a good question. I'll have to think about that more.
Maybe that's a Karen Buck question.
Yeah, that's probably a Karen Buck question.
Okay, we'll grab her at some point.
Yeah.
Because, again, Malden Reads has done stuff down by the river, not, again, realizing Malden has a river.
Yeah.
And it'd be, and when we've had access through the floating dock to canoe or kayak, it's just, it's a magical experience.
Yeah, we had the event with Karen Buck at the Malden River, and that was so special because it's one of my first times in a canoe and canoeing on the river. And there was a egret.
Yeah.
Or was it an egret?
Yep.
Do you remember? So
Yes.
It just flew by, and it was just magic.
Yeah. And there's, again, like having these pockets kind of makes Malden richer. I mean, it's obviously about the people too, but when we have natural spaces, it's a like you said, it's having a break from the busy.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, not to compare Central Park in New York with our little Malden, but it's a good balance, and it's important to have both.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your memories.
This
I really
was fun.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Alicia.
Not a heavy lift, right?
This was great.
Okay, take care.
All right. Could you tell me your name and how long you've lived in Malden?
My name is Samuna Casey. I lived in Malden for almost 10 years now. In July, it'll be 10 years. Oh, wow. Yeah.
And is there a particular location or place in Malden where you have a special association with?
I would say the Malden train station. I love trains. Where I grew up, it was a valley. So we were surrounded by hills and mountains. And I remember for the first time when I saw a train, and I remember for the first time when I saw an ocean. And that's when I decided that I want to live in a city where there's train and when there's ocean. And then when I came here, okay, maybe this is it. But then Malden train station, 10 years ago, it used to be like it was not like the way it is today. The buildings, even Starbucks was not there before.
So we're talking Malden Center, not Oak Grove. Okay.
Yes, yeah, Malden Center. And I remember I used to work in Highland Ave and lived in Everett. So like that was my regular commute. And I used to be scared to come to the station because it was it looked like a very abandoned station. And the way it's looked right now is the change is so tremendous, and then so much has happened around it. But now, like, we have a car, we don't take a train a lot, but every time I go there, I still remember that feeling of like, because like this is where we came first, so like it was like foreign. I didn't know anyone, and even if I did speak English all my life, the different accent, it was very tough for me to understand. Like when it all comes at once when I like go to Malden Station, when I go there.
What was the first building or aspect of the train station or the surrounding area that you noticed was different? What was the first improvement that you noticed?
More than a station, of course, the trains are new now.
That helps.
That totally helps. And then there are some people who've been here for only a couple of years. I ask them, like, do you remember the old train? And they don't remember it. And I tell them, like, it's red line, but different. It looks like a red line, but different. So the more than a like station itself, I would say, like, when I came out of the station and the bridge, the bridge outside of the station is like my very stark image that because I worked at Highland Ave, when I got off the work, I used to walk to the station, and that bridge where the train crosses, that is the very stark image that I still have in my mind.
So I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about how cities change for the better, sometimes what they're implying or explicitly talking about is what I sometimes refer to as the G word, which is gentrification. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's what's happening? Do you think that's what's happening to Malden, or does it feel more just like business development and housing being put in? It seems like a pretty positive change.
If I only take the station and then the view from the station, yes, gentrification.
Yeah.
But then
there's more to it.
But then the opportunity it brings, the restaurant that it brought in, all the places that I like from station to that. Right now I live very close to the station. If I walk from station to home, each restaurant is I call it a trap where my paychecks go.
Yep,
so
mine too. Are you referring specific District Kitchen as the restaurant?
The District Kitchen was always there.
Okay.
We lived in 10 Florence Street for a long time, so I've been there. It's more of the restaurant in the Pleasant Street. If you remember, it used to be like closed way before the construction.
Yep.
That's what I remember. And when it opened up, and all the restaurant in that street, the latest one right now, I've just been to Tiger Stand.
Oh, it's so good.
Such a nice place. So like that, I would say is that's where I found more values in this, all the development. And also now more traffic, more people are around compared to like when I came here. And that also gives me that. I grew up in Kathmandu, the very crowded city. I'm used to seeing a lot of people on the street. And it used to be a quiet place. I don't know, because of the less businesses or what. But now it's way more people on the street. I love that.
Yeah.
Hi, Felicia. Nice to be here. I'm Ron Cox, a longtime resident of Malden. I went to Malden High School here, and former executive director of METV, now known as UMA,
Yeah.
Urban Media Arts.
So we're here at the Art Salon, which is for the Mapping Malden exhibit. And we're asking folks to think about or to reflect on a memorable place in Malden, a moment in Malden. You've already told me you're a longtime resident and you went to high school here, but what kind of memory came up for you?
Well, I was thinking about it, Felicia, and I thought about Bell Rock Park. That's the park on Main Street, located in Wood 1.
Is that near where you live?
It was just 2 blocks from, actually, now I think about it, 1 block from Barrett Street. And Barrett Street is a street that curved from Main Street over to Wilson Avenue, which in fact came back onto Main Street. So we were this little corner, this little sliver of Wood 1 that we lived in.
And what about the park came up for you?
Well, the park, if you've ever been there, it's a national landmark. I think 2000, recently, 2000, I think, 2001, it was made a national landmark. I'm not sure the origins of it, but it was a war memorial park. Originally, I think, for Civil War. And there's a statue there of 3 Civil War soldiers. 2 were carrying rifles on the side, and the fellow in the middle is carrying a flag. And it's obviously the Union soldiers. And so I think it's dedicated pretty much to the Civil War veterans. Located on the grounds, that's actually the statue's right in the middle of the fort. So it's actually designed as a fort. And it looks like a fort. It's a memorial, and it's looks like it's made from granite or stone. And has little windows for what I always, as a kid, figured that's where the cannons would go, or the rifles.
Yeah. So this comes up for you as a kid, you used to go to the park.
Yes. From, I think, 8 to 10. Maybe even, for me, probably carried it on to 12. But what we used to do is we'd have a bunch of kids defend it and a bunch of kids attack it.
Wow.
And, it's interesting to explain to kids today who are totally involved with media and devices that this was a bunch of neighborhood kids coming together, agreeing that what was going to be valid to be who's shot, who's not shot.
Yeah.
And we all agreed onto the rules of war.
Right. Well, playing war games, I think, was a way to interact with peers.
Yep.
It wasn't necessarily about violence or about like death, but it was working through, like you said, cooperation, strategy.
Exactly. It was like a board game that we were playing out.
Yeah.
And we never thought it was violence. In fact, when we said bang, you're dead, it's just out of the game, essentially.
Right.
And so who was left, you're down to like who would be left over.
Yeah.
And that's how you win the game. That, if your team had more kids alive, theoretically alive.
That's a really strong memory that stuck with you from childhood.
Definitely.
I appreciate that you shared it with us. Thank you so much for participating.
And thank you, Felice, for putting this together, because this is great for Malden. Thank you.
It's really fun to think about the different places that people have reflected on,
Yeah.
and everybody's got something different.
Exactly.
So.
So check out Bell Rock Park.
Yeah, we will.
All right.
Thank you.
Felice.
Why don't we start by, could you tell me your name, please?
Sure. My name is Parto Khorshidi, and I live in Malden since 2002, July of 2002.
Okay, so you've been around for a while in Malden.
Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about a particular place or location in Malden where you have a special association with?
I would say there are different areas that you pass by, and based on what your emotions are, you identify with those places. Actually, in Maplewood Square area, there used to be some old stores that I like those more so because I think they reflected the history of the place. And also there was a department store. I forgot the name, but it's no longer here. In this street, it was, oh my God. I forgot, sorry. I forgot the name, but
Was there a smaller store or smaller business in Maplewood Square that you might remember, even if you don't remember the name,
Well,
particular qualities of it?
actually, there was a bank that apparently used to be a theater,
Oh, wow.
and now it became a part of charter school. So I think there are ghosts in the walls, probably from way back. The ones who maybe came by and saw a small theater. Actually, I never knew that there was theater, but apparently long time ago, and it was told by a gentleman in a bar / cafe in the same street. That he said, "Did you know that that bank? It wasn't a bank, but actually was a theater." Like, oh no, I didn't.
So was it both a bank and a theater at one point, or?
No, it was a theater, and
Okay.
then it turned to a bank.
All right. And the ghosts have been there the whole time. So
I don't know. I'm just assuming that it just.
they've seen some stuff.
I don't know. I'm just making it up. Maybe I believe that humans have energies,
Agreed.
and when we leave these bodies, then a part of our energy remain wherever we are or where we had attachment. So many of those people may have had memories, and a part of their energy remain there.
And probably stayed in a place where they themselves had a lot of associations or good memories with. They're not just staying anywhere, they're staying in a theater where they might have seen some
Correct.
fantastic production in the past.
Correct. I never knew a bank was a theater, so that was something new for me. So I like that building. I like old things.
Yeah, me too.
I like old places.
So do you know what it is now, or which?
It is. It was bought by charter school, and I think maybe it's a part of their.
You mentioned that, I'm sorry.
I think it may be a part of their administration. If they didn't, I don't think they demolished it.
Yeah.
It's a part of their administration of some sort.
Well, perhaps the ghosts are now overlooking the education of, the youth of Malden and thereabouts now, for better or for worse.
I don't know. It is possible, but in my opinion, they may shake their heads.
Well, we won't go into that too much on the official podcast, but that's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Can you just tell me your name and how long you've lived in Malden?
Susie Ecker, and I've lived in Malden 23 years.
And Susie, is there a particular place, location, monument, street, area, part of Malden where you have a special association or a particular memory of?
I would say the Fells. And before I moved to Malden, I lived in Belmont for 10 years. And many of our bike rides would be riding into Malden and Stoneham and Medford to go to the Fells. And so when we were looking for a house, the Fells was like a big draw for us. We mountain bike, we hike, and it's just like an oasis. And it's amazing that the city is maybe a 10-minute drive, going into Boston, and it's a 5-minute walk from our backyard, into the woods. And you would never know that there's like a bustling city so close by.
I think you and I had talked about this before, but when we were looking for a house as well, I think me in particular, I'm a little bit more outdoorsy than my significant other, but being as close as possible to the fells was a hugely important thing for me. And I brag because I say I can get up to the top of Boojum Rock in about 5 minutes. And that's just the greatest thing. It sounds like you can relate to that proximity being just so powerful.
Definitely. And, whether it's like 4th of July, climbing up to the high peaks in the fells, to watch fireworks, or recently there was like
The eclipse.
The eclipse.
Yep.
We went to see that up there. There were also meteor showers, I think, recently that we went and watched that. There's just like so many special nights where or even just walking around our neighborhood, and then going by and saying, let's just pop in. Even walking around the reservoir, it's just very special. We've also seen so much wildlife as well, and everything from coyotes, deer, owls. It just feels it's a unique place to live and have access to that.
Now, are you an all seasons fells hiker, or do you stick more to spring, summer, fall, or are you getting in there in the winter as well?
Yeah, definitely in the winter as well. We have yak tracks and snowshoes and cross country skis. And there was one snowstorm, and this is quite a while ago because it seems like our snowstorms aren't as big as they used to be.
That's for sure.
But it was maybe around midnight. I can't remember if it was a full moon or not, but we just grabbed our skis, or snowshoes rather, and hiked into the fells and went, and we were following a trail of deer hoofs. Like it just felt magical. It was snowing and the snow was piling up, and it's really true that there's no bad weather. That if you have the right clothes, you can enjoy almost any weather.
Have you ever gotten lost in the fells?
Oh my God, yes.
Me as well.
I do have a funny story.
Let's hear it.
So it was during COVID, and I don't know, I think I was just like busy trying to work on projects during that time, and to kind of keep my mind off of things. And I got a knock on the door. It was a neighbor, and she wanted me to go for a walk. And I said, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm kind of involved in something. And then I was like, what am I doing? It's like COVID. How often do you have someone coming looking for your, it was kind of a lonely time. So I ran back out. I said, let me just put my shoes on. I'm there. And so, but I was thinking we were going to walk around the neighborhood. And she said, oh, and this is like 4:30, maybe in the fall. So, it's getting darker earlier.
Sure.
And so she said, oh, well, I go every day on this certain trail. I'm just going to bring you on that. So I was like, okay, she does it every day. I didn't have anything with me. I didn't bring water. I didn't have a coat. I had nothing. We went on this trail, and it wasn't like walking, hiking. It was kind of
so legit hike.
It was like climbing and all of that involved as well. And so I was thinking this is probably a loop, and at some point it was starting to get a little dark, and I said, oh, are we almost done with the loop? And she goes, oh no, this is like out and back. And I was like, oh, well, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do what we just did as it's getting dark. And so she was like, oh, no problem. We'll just take this other path. And so at some point I started realizing we were like taking some time, and I was like, are we lost? And she said, yes. And so we went into the woods about 4:30, didn't make it out till 7:30.
Wow.
And it was definitely dark.
But she had said that she takes that same route every time.
Right, but then she didn't do that route because I said I couldn't do that, so she went on another route, but then as it was getting dark, and I think she kind of did get confused.
Yeah.
And so anyway, when we both came out, we literally kissed the ground.
And you got to know each other better, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I think the thing that's nice about the fells is that it does feel like you're out in nature, but you also still have a cell signal. So at least you have that in case of a true emergency, or just to be able to, what I've done when I felt like I'm not sure I know exactly where I am, I can at least take like the maps app on my phone out and point like, okay, I need to be going in this direction. So you're never too far out there,
That's
which is
right.
sometimes a reassuring feeling, and perhaps something that you utilize then, so you weren't out there all night.
Right. So literally I had no phone, no nothing on me, and she had a phone that had 5%. So it was getting a little scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you made it.
We did make it. We're survivors.
Well, that is a great story.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing it.
So I'm here with my podcasting cohort, Adam Shulman, and we did this series of interviews with different community members, and I'm just curious, any reflections, any things that you learned? What did you think of the series of interviews?
I would say what struck me most about what people had to share is the diversity in the types of locations and types of places that people chose. It wasn't that everybody chose a park or everybody chose a store. It was really representative of what, at least I can speak for myself, what drew me to Malden is that there is great nature, just a 5-minute walk from a tremendous restaurant. There is the commuter rail station, just a 3-minute walk from a literal mountain. And it's just clear that that people didn't just love one aspect of Malden. There were many different types of locations and types of places that people had equally fond and special memories of. And I don't think that could be said of many other communities around Greater Boston. It seems pretty unique to Malden.
I think what really struck me too, and by the way, I think you're a great interviewer.
Thank you.
Is the depth of the thought, in the depth of the memory, and the kind of emotional connection to places or things. And I found that really striking throughout every interview. Somebody had some sort of an emotional connection to a place, which is, you would expect the folks that would come to an art salon would be thinking about art and wanting to talk about that kind of thing. But to encapsulate that in a 1 to 2 minute interview was fairly profound for me.
It felt like when Susie was talking about the fells, I was walking through the fells with her.
Yes.
I felt like she was transported, and then I got transported as well. Perhaps it's because I spent a lot of my time in the fells as well, but people got very into describing the locations that they were speaking of.
Right, and there's such a visual component to the art salon, but there was also, like you're saying, people were, it's kinesthesia, I think, where you can experience what people are describing because they're putting you in time and place. I was also really struck by C.D. Collins talking about the 9 windows or the 7 windows and the nuns that lived there. And then the interview after that was, I think, with Parto. And she also talked about the history of the place. And we said vibe, but...
Right. It wasn't just about the feeling that people had about going to these places now. It was about what they represented and what came before or what happened at those locations prior. So there's a history there as well that really clearly affected the folks that we spoke with.
Yeah. Anything else you learned or that you'd want to reflect on?
I think one thing that we spoke with people who have lived in Malden all their lives. We spoke with Malden, or with people from who live in Malden but are not from Malden, and the passion that people spoke with was pretty equivalent, which struck me as powerful. You didn't need to have grown up here and been here forever to have special associations. People seem to have been able to form those bonds pretty quickly.
Yeah, I liked that everybody had, whether it was someone who'd been here for a really long time or someone who was new, immediately had some sort of place connection, emotional connection. And there was definitely, maybe because we're so good at what we do, there was sort of naturally a theme that came throughout. I know we were asking a prompting question, but I still feel like they all fit together.
Yeah, I also, this is a little bit behind the scenes or inside baseball, if you will, but we did not need to drag people in to speak about this either. It was very easy to find people who were not just willing to speak, but able to speak articulately about their special places, which says something to me too.
And did it help you, encourage you to want to do more podcasting at UMA?
It very much so wanted me to, it inspired me to get a better microphone than the one that I typically use. But yes, it's just fun to sit down and speak with people. It's not often that we're able to quiet the rest of our lives and actually focus on someone and what they have to say. That definitely, as I hear myself saying it, definitely was an aspect of that is just unusual in this day and age, to be able to put your phone away and put the other people away and not be distracted about what's going on at the other side of the room. So there's it wasn't just the people and the locations. It was the nature of podcasting that made it a valuable experience as well.
And that's what I love about podcasting too. It really is a more in-depth conversation. It's just not Q&A. It's really listening to what someone's saying, and you did a really great job, I thought, of, asking follow-up questions and kind of going underneath the next layer of what they were saying. And I love podcasting because I love making people feel comfortable, but I'm also curious about their lives or their passions or what they're talking about or what they want to talk about. So, and I think podcasting is a more maybe intimate's the wrong word, but like more personal connection to people.
No doubt about it. I think a big reason why, I can't speak for other people, but why I listen to podcasts is I feel like I form parasocial relationships with the people who are either hosting the podcast or a guest of the podcast. You get to really know what's going on people's lives, and it's in large part because, at least again, the podcasts I listen to, these are 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour episodes. Just to give, I'm a big sucker for the music podcasts, and I learn things about these bands that I've been listening to for decades that I never knew before. But it's because the hosts and the guests are going into the details and then interweaving details of their own lives and what it felt like when they listened to a song for the first time and where they were at with their lives. So it's just difficult to find that depth in other forms of entertainment or media that we consume on a daily basis.
Yeah, and people forget how powerful podcasting can be. It can be educational, it could be funny, it could be serious, it can be thoughtful. And the idea that we have this wonderful digital podcasting suite available for the community to come in and learn and develop their own or help us with one of these kinds of productions, I think is just invaluable. So
right here on Pleasant Street in Malden. Come on in. In the UMAverse is a program series that brings together Malden community members for roundtable discussions on topics of interest. Community members are invited to produce their own episodes for the series or trained to be crew members for the TV studio production. If you are interested in producing an UMAverse program, you can reach out to membership@umaverse.org. These podcasts are available wherever you get your podcasts or at the UMA website.